A few weeks ago, we had one of these videos where we talked about Bark Air and some of the new announcements we had around that. And we thought we would do it again, this time talking a little bit about our partnerships. We just had the Croc announcement not too long ago, but we have a bunch of other cool partnerships that we've done. So we invited Dave Stangle, who has been at Bark for a very, very, very long time and is running our partnerships. Maybe Dave, you could talk a little bit about Croc in specific, and then maybe use that as kind of a jumping off point on how do we think about partnerships.
Sure. So the most recent one partnership we launched was with Crocs. We made Crocs for dogs. Um, Crocs had told us that Crocs for dogs was the number one most requested thing that their audience was asking for over the past several years, and we were the company to work with to do it. So for us, we like the passion of the Crocs audience, and it fits in really well with our approach to partnerships in that, like, we like to find these brands that have really big, loyal, dedicated audiences, right? That's what we've tried to build with our own products and done a pretty good job with it. So when we can find partners like Crocs who have an audience that, like, no matter what industry you're in, you can be in shoes, you can be in the restaurant industry, no matter what your brand is, like 70% of that audience are crazy dog people. So coming up with something really cool to offer to all the dog people in their audience was a huge win. And it sold out within 20 minutes on Crocs website. And then we went live with ours, and I think we moved through like 30,000 pairs of them in just under a week.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
what I really like about it too is the Crocs example. It highlights a lot of the different ways that you can use partnerships. Like, we start with creating one of those awesome products that evokes a lot of emotion from the audience, and when they hear it, they smile and they get really happy about it. And then, like you said, they can buy it from the partner, so they're clearing out in 20 minutes at Crocs. They can buy it directly from us, and we sold out pretty quickly. We also used it as a promotion or a gift with purchase when you subscribe to the box. It then leads to retail partners calling us saying, "How can we get this on our shelf?" We get some press who are really interested in the story. So it does a lot for Bark overall. That one partnership and that one really awesome product does a lot for us in many directions.
When we see, Domino's, which obviously we've done stuff with, and Girl Scouts, they're not necessarily kind of like, it's kind of not obvious what kind of partnerships we go for. Have you kind of like, what's the kind of like the little rule of thumb that you have when you're thinking about who would be somebody that would be fun to do something for us?
I think about it not as a Bark employee, but more as like a person who's crazy about dogs. And I think, like, okay, what are the brands that I love, and what would I like to see them do in the dog space, and kind of approach it from there, because there's every, we'll talk about, like, Girl Scouts, even like driving in your car, there's all these little touch points in your day. I would like describe it as the rituals you go through with your dog. And I like to think about how can we make that better for you and your dog? And if it's not something we can do on our own, or it's not right in our wheelhouse, it's really fun to think about what brands we can partner with to do that kind of thing and do something that is frankly different than anything else that's out there.
Do you mind?
What are some of your favorite partnerships that you've put in motion or like launched forever? What are like
Um,
your top three?
I, you know, I think I think Duncan's got to be number one, because and frankly, Crocs is trailing pretty quick at number two. But for me, I love the Duncan one because of all the boxes it checks for not just Bark and not just Duncan, right? Like all the things you talked about earlier, Matt, with Crocs, right? Like, we get a windfall of customers, we get a lot of PR, a lot of social, we have a lot more exposure being in all of these Dunkin' stores. But what I have really come to fall in love with about it is that it's, we make really great products and we can do that all the time. It's the program we wrap around the products in that the Dunkin' deal for us, I mean, it drives revenue, drives PR, drives social, it does all these things, but also all of the proceeds from that go to the Joy in Childhood Foundation, which is training therapy dogs to go into pediatric hospitals, right? So like through this program, I mean, these dogs are wildly expensive to train. And just through selling Bark toys in Dunkin' over the past 5 years, we've trained dozens of these dogs and raised like 15-20 million dollars for the Joy in Childhood Foundation. So like if you think about all the boxes to check, having that be the biggest box on the partnership just gives it's really nice. Like it does everything you could ask for from a brand partnership, and it has a cool story to tell. And then the Crocs one really is ranking second because I like the idea that like we don't make dog shoes, right? Like we specialize in dog toys and treats and consumables and a whole bunch more stuff. We had never done a dog shoe, and it was really fun to order every dog shoe on the internet to the office, have the designers like rip them up, deconstruct them, look at how they're made, test them out, and then talk to our suppliers and design this thing from the ground up, launch it. And on our very first, like within seconds, these things are selling and selling and selling. So that one is really fun to just watch come to life.
The Girl Scouts deal is one that I've kind of like just been enjoying seeing unfold. You must have been working on this for 5 years, like something like that. Like it feels like a long time.
If I mean, I'm not someone who takes no for an answer all that well. If you count the very first time Girl Scouts said no, I've technically been working on it since 2016. So it's by the time this thing really gets out there in the world, it'll be 10 years if you really count it from the first time they said no. But I think like a lot of things, like we came up with this idea of, and this was during Girl Scouts cookie season, there was a form being passed around the office. We were all buying them, and everyone, the feedback was like, I wish there were dog treats on here, right? And we all fell in love with this idea and took it to the Girl Scouts. In 2016, it was no, 2017, no, 2018, no, like went back during COVID. They were like, are you crazy? But they really they started listening a couple of years ago, and now we're really in the like we have a product designed and like ready to go, and now it's like tangible. And the idea of launching, a Girl Scout cookie for dogs alongside with Thin Mints and Samoas and like all of these cookies that like all of America falls in love with over and over again every single year is super exciting to be able to extend that world out to dogs.
Matt, you've been keen on pushing these partnerships from day one, pretty much. How do you think about this from a business perspective? We obviously want to build our own brand, but we've done a lot of work with partners. Like, how does this fit into your world?
Oh, I think you said it right there. It fits in perfectly. Dave is describing that where you're talking about the brand awareness and Bark showing up in people's lives, and really it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's expected that we show up in places like our products are featured on Chewy, or they're in a Petco or a PetSmart store. I think that's expected. What really catches someone's attention is when your products show up at a Subaru dealership and you're like, why is there a dog toy here? And if you dig in just a little bit more, then you learn more about Subaru's commitment to dogs. You learn more about Bark, and that's awareness for us. Dave mentioned Dunkin' showing up in, what is it, their 9,000, is it 9,000 stores?
Yeah, 9,000.
Nationwide, brings a level of awareness to Bark and what we do that we couldn't do that in the next 10 years on our own, even if we tried. There's no way we could extend that far. So It's finding ways that we can um, maybe take all of our hopes and dreams and all the places we'd want to show up with for awareness, and being able to do that by partnering with some of our friends to make it happen.
I think what's really cool about that is we've obviously talked a lot about internally not wanting to be the company that just slap our brand on top of something. I think what's really unique when with stuff that you picked, Dave, is that all these different companies we work with are maybe a little bit kind of non-obvious, but they all kind of like when we put our brand together with their brand together, it really kind of unlocks something new, which is really exciting. What's one of the partnerships you always wanted to do, but you're still getting no from that we maybe be able to tag on this video and entice a CMO of a CEO to kind of do something with us?
Uh, I mean, up until recently, my answer would have been Girl Scouts and Crocs. Like those are two that have said no to us several times, and now are actually in the works and moving. And so I think like generally for all those CMOs listening, if there's no better way to let a customer know you care about them than letting them know you care about their dog, right? So I think we're in a place now where getting to the right brand isn't necessarily the hardest part, right? Like doing this thing with Crocs made me think like, oh my God, I would love to do a thing with Nike next, where like we do like Air Force Ones, but like a dog version of them, right? I think we were calling them Air Fluff Ones internally, but it's not so much getting to the right brand as much as making sure we're not just churning these things out to get attention, but like we can tell a real story around these and show like actual, not just marketing impact or business impact, but like give consumers something to latch onto. Like Matt mentioned with Subaru, like the Subaru Loves Pets program gets 40 or 50,000 pets adopted just in the month of October through this program. Like they have put hundreds of thousands of pets in homes. And when we first started working with them, I remember very naively saying like, thinking I was a good marketer and saying like, this is gonna put butts in seats. This is how we're gonna drive test drives. And they were so quick to be like, whoa, we don't, this is about like reinforcing our love for pets. This is not about selling cars or driving test drives. And that's the moment where you've got a partner who is in this to like make dogs happy as much as you are. And that's how we need to filter the next partnerships we do, is like it's less about the strength of the brand and more about like how much equity do they want to have in the dog space, and do they get how big this can be for them, the way Crocs just came around to, and the way Girl Scouts used to be very against, and now they're like, we cannot wait to get this program moving.
I can add to answer Henrik's question as well. That was sort of on the getting the door slammed in our face over and over list, which was we tried to do Bark Air with pretty much every commercial airline in the US for I don't know how many years, and it just never would get there, and so we took it upon ourselves to create that experience ourselves, which is admittedly maybe just a little bit crazy, but turned out to be fantastic. And what that did is it brought a commercial airline partnership to us. Like someone else out there saw that vision and said, let's do that. So flight starting in February between New York and Miami. Book
I
now.
thought I thought you were saying Nike beware. We might do the best running shoes for dogs ever.
That's right. That's right. When
That's
dogs are
awesome.
in the Olympics in their running shoes, you're gonna want your brand on it.
What anything else that we should add? I think otherwise we should wrap it up.
Now I'm just waiting for a big Bark Air partnership to come our way.
We have it. We got the commercial airline partnership. That was the last video. You should go watch it.
I've seen it. I'm a big fan of the show.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, both of you, and And I should have a better outro, but this is it.